I'm Matt Jenkins. I'm a blacksmith at Cloverdale Forge.
And I'm Karen Rudolph, blacksmith at Cloverdale Forge.
The month I was born, my dad applied for a job at Lower Fort Garry, just down the road, National Historic Site, as the blacksmith there. And he went in for the interview and bullshitted his way through the interview. And they asked him a bunch of questions if he had done any blacksmithing. He was like, "We got a forge on the farm," which was true, but they never actually used it. And so then he had to learn how to blacksmith, and my childhood was growing up around a blacksmith. What really got me into blacksmithing, so we on the farm here had this Scandinavian riding lawnmower. Now, it was Scandinavian, European, and so one of the parts on it that always broke was the 100 millimeter belt pulley. So we always ordered this damn thing, and it would take 3 weeks to get here. And then Mom would complain about, like, oh, the grass hasn't been cut in 3 weeks. So, of course, it's millimeter, so it wasn't a standard part. It took forever to get here. However, instead of buying this metric part that cost 10 times as much, we could get the standard equivalent of 4-inch belt pulley for like $5. Problem was, 104 millimeters is different than 100 millimeters. So this guard got in the way. And so Dad and I, we bought this 4-inch or 104 millimeter pulley. This guard was in the way. So we took the guard, put it in the forge, flattened it out, straightened it, hammered it back, and made it so that a 4-inch pulley would work. And it was that moment where I was like, oh, metal had gone from like this immovable. As a kid, there was so much wood around here. You could carve wood, you could shave wood. As long as you had a little pocket knife, you could make whatever you want. But metal was this hard and immovable thing. You needed a special saw, you needed files, and then you needed like 4 weeks of time to do any little thing. And to watch the material go whoop, whoop, mind-blowing. And I can't...
That's a good answer.
...convey how life-changing that one moment was. That's what did it. I was like, oh, I can do anything now. And it was because of one stupid metric conversion. 4 freaking millimeters. Ruined my engineering career. I got the job in university at Lower Fort Garry. So, I mean, it was always around the farm. Dad set up kind of the shop that we're in now when I was in high school. But never really did much here at the farm because you're nervous around your dad and breaking things. So when the federal government allowed me to be in the blacksmith shop at the Lower Fort Garry there, I could break their tools without repercussion. So that was when I really kind of started to try and learn it for the most part. And I'd come home and ask Dad, like, well, how do you do this? And he'd be like, well, I don't know. I've just read books. And so we kind of struggled to figure these things out together. And then came across a listing for the Campbell Folk School down in North Carolina, which is where Rudy was the resident smith. And I went down there and did almost 2 years worth of classes by the time it was all said and done. Training with... taking week-long classes with smiths from all over North America. When I finished up at the folk school, then basically moved back here and went into engineering and never really got rid of the blacksmith bug until we went full-time.
Ruined his engineering career.
This is true. It's an addiction.
So for me, I went to a small hippie school in Western North Carolina. It's a work school, so it's a 4-year liberal arts college. But everyone at the school has to work 15 hours a week for the school. And my crew boss, I was in landscaping. He also had a backyard forge, and Tom was a mentor for so many of us students. That led into the school, and I don't know what they were thinking, allowing a 21, 22-year-old student who had little construction knowledge to like take on a project of building a 20 by 30 foot blacksmith shop to like start a blacksmithing program there. Through that that experience, I applied for the resident blacksmith position at the John C. Campbell Folk School in Brasstown, North Carolina. I stole Matt's job. 2002, the resident blacksmith at the folk school had resigned, and the position was open. Matt had applied and all but got the job, but had issues with visas because it is in North Carolina, and we have this whole border thing. And so around the same time, I had also applied, and Matt, by all means, is a better smith than me.
But I wouldn't be better for that position.
But in some ways, there was a lot of logistics, and I'm better at logistics and coordinating. And so anyhow, had he gotten a visa, we would have never met, but he didn't. So I ended up at the folk school, and then Matt came as a
work study.
So then, after we got married and I moved here.
Yeah, it was just after you moved here. I lost my job at a company in Winnipeg doing engineering and designing. I designed metal stuff during the day, and then I was doing Cloverdale Forge stuff in the evenings, kind of part-time. And then it just seemed like rather than hunt for another job, at that point, why not give this a shot and see if it takes hold? We kind of kept on going in, and we took kind of what the kernel was that had started as Cloverdale Forge with just me being part-time, and just opened it up into a full-time job for both of us. Get it hot, hit it hard, quit when you're done. Next.
Yeah. No, there is, like, blacksmithing can be as simple of, like, get it hot, hit it hard, and then stop when it's done. Because sometimes, especially, like,
there's a lot of nuance in those 3 steps. But
yeah.
That's absolutely, and I mean, we could add steps before it of, like, what is the problem that you're trying to solve and all that kind of stuff that we have to do with clients. I mean, it's always a joke of, like, how do you boil down your craft? And that, I don't know, that's the old blacksmith. I mean, but for the most part, you have to decide what you want to do. You're heating up a piece of metal, and for us, heating is an important part of blacksmithing. I don't think that there's anything we make that's not thrown in the forge and heated up.
At least once.
At least once. And then we also, so what we find delineates us from fabricators and welders and machinists is that we change the cross-section of the metal without subtracting the metal. So it's not a subtractive art. It's not an additive art. We're just moving it. Squishing. Splatting. Yeah.
Those are all very technical terms.
Yeah. It's the manipulation of thermally enhanced ferrous materials, I believe is the Clay Spencer scientifical way of saying it. Blacksmithing takes longer than most processes of this material. You don't do it the fastest way, but we do it the fastest way to get that result. Mm-hmm. And it's a very subtle difference, but it's definitely the hard way. I think that should be the tagline for most blacksmithing businesses. Cloverdale Forge. We do it the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. My smart aleck answer to that question is, it took me 40 years to make that, because that's how much time between the two of us we've spent learning. And every time you light up a fire, you're learning, and you're figuring out how to do it the quickest with the least amount of resources, i.e. gas, whether it's propane or solid fuel. So the question is asked a lot of times if we'll be at markets or what. Well, what? How much are you asking? How long did it take you to make it? And my answer is 40 years, because you don't pick up a hammer and make this in 5 minutes.
When people ask, how did I learn? I always say I'm self-taught, which in my head is just another way of saying I have had many teachers. Because you can't be, particularly in this craft, you can't be self-taught. There's someone who's gone before you, and if you can cherry pick all the best from all those smiths, you can help elevate the craft a little bit further, because everyone does something dumb and everyone does something smart. And if you can pick the smart bits and put them all together, then you're doing the whole craft a service.